This is a wedding ceremony in the vicinity of Firuzabad in Fars province, or rather the ceremony of sending off the bride from her father's house. Or rather the ceremony of sending off the bride from her father's house. Perhaps you also wonder why, if they're seeing off the bride, they look so devastated and sad. Oh, what is this mournful sound, and why does the music have no sign of joy and celebration of a wedding? Why does the musician play in a way that would break a stone heart with sorrow? Oh, where are they sending the bride that such a mournful procession has been arranged? I must say these images might be the most painful and bitter you will see in your lifetime. Documentary footage of a disaster that is unfolding, a short excerpt from one of Iran's most tragic criminal cases. Hello friends, welcome to the Confession Channel. You are watching and listening to another case from our video series. The Bride of Blood Vengeance case in Firuzabad, Fars province. If you are interested in confession reports of criminal cases, we would be happy. Subscribe to the channel and click the bell next to it so you don't miss new videos. Take a closer look at these images so I can tell you the story behind them and the sadness they hold. This young man in a black suit and white shirt standing between two women with the camera zoomed in on him is the brother of the bride, the one who caused this bitter and dark wedding to happen. The videographer knows well that in this ceremony of bidding farewell to the bride, he plays the main role and is more important than anyone else. This young man with a stone face, showing no trace of joy on his sister's wedding night, has crossed the red line that his sister is now paying for. He committed murder, and in exchange for saving him from the gallows, his sister is going to the house of the murdered man's brother. Her name is mentioned as the bride, but everyone knows that a girl given away in exchange for bloodshed is not a bride, but a slave, a captive. It's as if the victim's family sees her as responsible for the death of their loved one, and they are slowly destroying her in captivity. It's exactly the same fate that has befallen this young and beautiful new bride, ruining her. But to narrate this black wedding and the bitter end that was sealed for the bride, I must tell you the story from about 6 months before the wedding, when a clan conflict turned bloody and a 20-year-old young man who had just returned from military service took his last breaths under the hands of the brother of this blood bride. And the case of this crime was opened in the late 2000s around Firuzabad in Fars province, and a fight between two young men in the Shishbloki tribe of the Qashqai turned into bloodshed. It was the murder of a 28-year-old man who, over this sister of his who had gotten married, stabbed a boy in the neck with a knife. 20 years old. The victim was a suitor for the same bride in the blood feud, but the girl had her heart set on someone else and had no desire for this marriage. They didn't have a father, and this older brother was like a father to them. But the elders of the clan had planned everything, and after the son returned from military service, they wanted to arrange their wedding celebrations. But as soon as the groom returned from military service, the bride's brother changed everything and said they wouldn't give their daughter to them.
It's something unacceptable for the suitor and his family, and it sparks a fight and conflict. The suitor, who wanted to invite his bride to his room sooner, approaches the bride's brother with full force and questions him, insisting that they have no right to break their promise, but the brother does not back down.
Or not. When both sides do not understand each other's language and are not willing to listen to one another, it leads to conflict. And in the midst of the confrontation, the 20-year-old suitor is killed by a knife blow to the neck, and the bride's brother, whose hands are stained with blood, is arrested and sent to prison. The family of the deceased, who were preparing for the wedding feast to see their son in his groom's outfit, now have shrouded him and left him in the house. Their being was so filled with rancor and hatred that they wouldn't relent for a moment from shedding the murderer's blood, and were eagerly waiting for the murderer's execution. The victim's family requested retribution in court, and finally, after 7 or 8 months and several court sessions, the judge ruled for the death penalty for the murderer. Indeed, the death sentence was final, and the victim's family was not willing to reconcile. However, there has long been a tradition in that region's tribes called blood compensation bride. This means that the family of the killer gives a daughter in exchange for the spilled blood to the family of the victim, and they in turn forego the spilled blood of their loved one and do not pursue execution and retribution, nor do they seek conflict and revenge. The blood price bride might stop the cycle of bloodshed and conflict in the tribe for a short time, but the bride herself becomes the most unfortunate person in the world, because for the rest of her life, she has to serve people she hates. The bride in this case experienced exactly the same thing. A girl whose brother was the killer and on the verge of execution agreed to become a blood bride and go to the victim's brother's home to save her own brother from execution. A 17-year-old girl who didn't want to marry the 20-year-old son of that family now had to become the wife of the 38-year-old brother of the victim, a man whose first wife had passed away and had 4 children. To save her brother's life, she became the wife of a man who was almost the same age as his children. At the blood wedding ceremony, there is no celebration or joy, and it has its own unique customs. Pay attention to the musician who is facing the wall and playing his sorrowful tune. Facing the wall while playing an instrument in the tribe is a sign of endless grief and sorrow. They themselves know there is no wedding, happiness, or such things. It's true the bride is wearing a white dress, but it's as if she's wearing a shroud and heading to the slaughterhouse. She has to spend the rest of her life in the home of a man who wants to slowly take revenge for his brother's untimely death from her. It's true, a 20-year-old boy who eagerly went to enlist became a groom, and when he returned, the bitterest ending possible occurred for him. But the calamity that befell the 17-year-old bride was an endless bitterness, and she had to endure suffering every day, every hour, and every moment. Suffering that the 17-year-old bride could not bear, and 3 months later she ended her life, which was more bitter than poison. According to the tribe's customs, when the engagement agreement is made and the blood marriage bride is sent to her husband's home, the killer's neck is effectively saved from the noose. However, to solidify this unwritten pact, the victim's family also appears in court and declares their consent to the court and the law. This way, in addition to the internal promise within the tribe, they hold no legal claim either. For example, in this case, the same process was followed, and after marrying the 17-year-old girl to the 38-year-old brother of the victim, the sharp blade of retribution was removed from the neck of the bride's brother, and the victim's family forgave the execution. On the surface, everything seemed to have turned out well, and perhaps many, even though they felt sorry for the new bride caught in vendetta, would mutter under their breath that this was just the fate of this poor soul. A fate that the 17-year-old bride could not endure, and 3 months after the wedding, she committed suicide. What happened to her during those 3 months is unknown. He couldn't bear it, and 3 months after the wedding he committed suicide. What he went through in those 3 months is unclear, but it seems he suffered so much that he believed he had reached the end of the line and was ready to set fire to himself and the house that had brought him sorrow. He locks the house doors so that he doesn't regret it and escape, and no one can come to help him. Then he pours gasoline all over the house and burns himself and his husband's house with fire. He kills. By the time the neighbors and relatives arrived, the house couldn't be extinguished, nor could they see the bride. Thank you for being with us until now. Please share your comments with us at the bottom of this page. If you haven't joined our channel yet, support our activities.